Distinguished speakers, my colleagues and friends, very good afternoon. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to share with you my experience, knowledge, and expertise in coastal and ocean development in very highly important World Ocean Forum. So that I would like to thank organizing committee for inviting me. As a matter of fact, Korea for me is not foreign nation because since 1988 I've been to Korea more than 32 times, so almost Korean by frequent visit. Right, my topic of presentation is how to manage coastal and ocean development in an increasingly crowded, interconnected, and warming world. So this is kind of my proposal, how to enhance cooperation in sustainable coastal and ocean development between Korea and other countries, yeah, especially in ASEAN countries. Well, I have ambitious outline, yeah. So I would like to touch a little bit on the key global trend in the 21st century and their implication for the world's coast and ocean. Second chapter will be the increasing rules of coastal and ocean ecosystem for human life. And the third part will be the threats to coastal and ocean ecosystem. And last but certainly not least, this is actually the meat of my sharing, will be how to manage sustainable coastal and ocean development through integrated management. Right, well, I think we already felt that our world is increasingly connected and is increasingly influenced by global climate change, also increasingly influenced by Industry 4.0 era. Yeah. And in this kind of situation, everything unpredictable and disruptive, but in my assessment, there is one thing, which is relatively certain. That is the insatiable demand for higher quality products and services will continue to rise, while the capacity of our Earth to provide the natural resources and environmental services will be limited if there is no innovation or breakthrough. So the demand increase is driven by not only population number, but also by disposable income or purchasing power, as well as lifestyle, yeah, like hedonism, very what we call consumptive behavior, yeah, that's also degrading our environment. And the demand for product and services not only include basic needs like food, clothing, housing, health, and education, but also for secondary and luxurious needs. For example, entertainment, luxurious cars like Mercedes maybe, or Samsung Daewoo, and so forth and so forth. In Indonesia, by the way, it's 2,000 people with one car, but in my alma mater in Canada, 2 people, 1 car. So that in developed nation consume still much higher than in people in developing countries. So this is the declining of Earth capacity, right? And the primary factor of reducing carrying capacity of coastal and ocean can be pollution, habitat degradation, and on global scale will be climate change. So if I could summarize, there are at least 5 major global trends. Number 1 is population number. Number 2 is what we call the world more flat, interconnected, and uncertain, yeah, because of Industry 4.0 technology. So the first and second and the third global trends, the implication will be the demand the human demand for food, energy, and other resources will be increasing. But global trend number 4 and 5 certainly will reduce the capacity of our Earth to produce natural resources and environmental services. This is just what they call the evidence that that the population number will be increasing and the need for food will be also multiplied. Okay, I don't want to bore you with this thing, but certainly the what we call negative impact of global climate change already felt everywhere. Yeah? And this is what we call alarming finding. According to this research institute, if the global temperature increased by 1 centigrade, and then the capacity of our Earth to produce food will be decreasing by 10%. This is very alarming prediction because the demand will be increasing and supply decreasing. This is basic economy. Is demand increasing, at the same time supply decreasing, the price goes up, and scarcity will be there. If not corrected, probably food or natural resources can be what they call a proxy for war. I don't, because time limitation, you can just browse about the impact of global climate change on our coast and ocean. Yeah? So the increasing rules, as you know, the role of ocean is not only from economic point of view, but also from ecological point of view as climate regulator, as assimilative capacity for waste, and so forth and so forth. I think you know better than I do about this fact that 72% of our Earth covered by ocean, and so forth and so forth. Yeah. The 90% of goods, products, and commodities traded globally, transported through the sea, not through air or land. Yeah? So this is a major source of function of coast and ocean, not only for food, but also for other economic activities. Yeah? And according to Robert Costanza from Maryland University, although coastal zone only cover about 10% of the Earth's surface, and yet it produces about 45% of natural resources and environmental services on Earth. Very important. Yeah? This is the what we call example of multiple use of coastal and ocean space. Yeah? Okay. So, because the availability of natural resources on terrestrial ecosystem or land will be decreasing or difficult to develop, in my prediction, the role of coast and ocean, which cover about 72% of Earth's surface, will be increasingly more strategic for human being. And the threats, many from a maritime boundary dispute, like in the South China Sea between China and 4 or 5 ASEAN countries, still struggling to be in peaceful mode. Yeah? Overfishing, pollution, biodiversity loss, and lastly, global climate change. And this is data I don't want to bore you because we have lack of time, but surely the pollution and environmental degradation already reached what we call a level which threaten the sustainability of our coast and ocean. This is the Manila Bay. This is surrounding China, Japan, and Korea, because we are highly industrialized country. A lot of waste just discharged into this environment. Yeah? China coastal waters, Yangtze River. Yeah? And this is our problem right now about the plastic pollution, especially microplastic. And surprisingly, the plastic input mostly from ASEAN countries. Look at number 1 is China, and sadly and simply number 2 is from Indonesia. But in terms of production of plastic, Indonesia actually ranked number 20. So that means all plastic in Indonesia have not been recycled or reused, mostly just dumped to the ocean. So this kind of thing, Professor Shin, we need cooperation with Korea, maybe how to reuse and recycle plastic into a more meaningful product. Yeah? So not to dump or discharge into natural environment, including ocean. Yeah? And you know the implication of microplastic pollution, because it will be end up in a food web in our body, so it will cause a health problem and maybe the death of many population. Yeah? So in my conclusion, I think most problem related to coastal and ocean development are the result of placing too much stress on limited coastal and ocean resources, a condition known as the exceeding the carrying capacity. So if developed countries like Japan, Korea, United States, or Europe help developing countries make sure that the rate of development must not exceed the carrying capacity of region. If the carrying capacity of the region exceeded, and then pollution will be there, outbreak of disease like in shrimp farm in Vietnam, in Thailand, in China, by EMS disease, that's the symptom or indicators of the exceeding carrying capacity. So the challenge for any coastal and ocean management, then how to utilize and develop coastal and ocean ecosystem, including their embedded resources, to fulfill the increasing human demand, generate economic growth, create jobs, because in Indonesia, about 30% of our people are unemployed, yeah, and provide prosperity. So look at that. Although Indonesia is the 10th largest economy in terms of GDP, but if divided by 270 million people, our GDP per capita right now is only $4,000. So meaning Indonesia still belong to lower middle income country. While Korea right now, the GDP is almost $30,000. Yeah. So you are much richer than Indonesia. So we have to learn much from Korea. Yeah. So this is the meaning of sustainable development. Everybody knows in this room. Yeah. So talking about sustainable development, we are not only concentrating on economic growth, but also social distribution, social equity, as well as ecological sustainability. So my suggestion then for general guidelines in order to develop coastal and ocean ecosystem on sustainable basis, number one, we have to make sure that the rate or intensity of development should not exceed the carrying capacity of coastal zone to produce these resources. And I've done myself research in Jakarta Bay, in Kalimantan, yeah, how to assess the carrying capacity of coastal area. And then if we can find or assess the carrying capacity of the area, we have to align our development activities with, so that not exceeding the carrying capacity. So this is the definition of demand and carrying capacity. Yeah. And as I said here, luckily, carrying capacity of country or region can be increased by technology and import. For example, Singapore, according to Harvard University, the maximum number of population in order for that island to be sustained is only 4 million, with the GDP per capita $30,000. Right now, Singapore population already 10 million, with visitor about 15 million. And GDP per capita of Singapore is $50,000 per year. So the question, where the resources coming from? From Malaysia, water, from Indonesia, fish, right? Rice from Thailand. So basically almost everything in Singapore imported, right? And then through technology, wastewater treatment also very good, yeah. So although the natural carrying capacity of a country small, again, it can be increased by technology and import. But the question is, technology and import also have limits. So we cannot grow with unlimited, growth. We have to beware ourselves. Okay, this is the interaction between natural system and social system, human development. So as you can see here, development activities actually can be a double-edged sword. Yeah? On the one hand, produce positive things like goods and services, clothes, television, semiconductor. Yeah? But on the other hand, development activities also can create a negative impact to our environment in the form of pollution, overexploitation, loss of biodiversity, things like that. So talking from regional development point of view, if we want to ensure that coastal and ocean development sustainable, then again, the balance should be there between the capacity of our natural ecosystem and the exploitation rate. Yeah. So this is ecological guideline, Professor Shin. So if you help Indonesia or Vietnam or other developing countries, so each country must implement an integrated spatial planning, because if allocation of space determined by market mechanism or private sector, I'm sure there will be no conservation or protected areas. I'm sure there will be no fisheries. All coastal and marine space will be for mining, for industry, for what they call coastal city, things like that. Yeah. So slow yielding economic sector will be ignored. Yeah. That's my position. And then the second guideline is, can we harvest renewable resources like fish, like mangrove forests, like soft coral? To me, yes, we can. As far as the harvest rate is not bigger than the renewable capacity of that renewable resources. In fisheries term, we have maximum sustainable yield, what we call value. Yeah? In Indonesia, for example, the maximum sustainable yield of fish, the whole sea in Indonesia is about 13 million metric tons. So as far as Indonesian harvest the fish less than 13 million metric ton per year, it will be sustainable. Yeah, that's this is the example of integrated land, coastal, and ocean spatial planning. So very neat, yeah, very harmonious among development sector. So we have, for example, what we call tourism island, we have fish, shrimp pond aquaculture, we have industry, we have rice field, everything put in harmonious location. Yeah? This is, as I said, that as far as the, as far as the harvest rate is not bigger than MSY, and then the stock will be sustained. So third, the guidelines will be any exploitation of non-renewable resources like coal in Kalimantan, okay, nickel in Sulawesi is okay. Yeah? As far as we have to do it on environmentally friendly manner. For example, the environmental impact assessment should be done very accurately on science-based process and so forth and so forth. And then about pollution, we are not allowed to discharge hazardous toxic waste, but we can discharge biodegradable waste like nutrient, organic waste to our ocean, as far as the rate of discharge does not exceed the assimilative capacity of our coastal waters. Again, we can assess or we can calculate the carrying capacity, assimilative capacity of coastal waters or ocean. Yeah? And this is example of Xiamen. I remember first time I was invited to Xiamen back in 1995. Sorry to say, at the time Xiamen very dirty, murky waters. Yeah? But then after spatial planning or zone implemented and pollution control also implemented, Xiamen right now just like paradise, very clean city. And then all development sector, fisheries, aquaculture, tourism, ports can be hand in hand, yeah, not sectoral cannibalism. So the important thing in ecological planning is spatial planning and pollution control. And Korea, Japan, China, I think right now the leading nation to do zero waste process. I mean, you have factory and yet does not, discharge the waste, yeah, because you have efficient, what we call processes. This is the fifth recommendation, 6 guideline, and then 7 guidelines. In the future, we have to, what we call, phase out the fossil fuel. We have to use renewable energy. I am very happy to see development of solar energy, ocean energy, wind power in Korea is mushrooming. So probably we developing countries can learn and transfer technology. And good thing about Korea, frankly speaking, from Indonesian perspective, because Korea experiencing aging population. If Korean company like Samsung, Lotte in Indonesia, SK build factory or industry in Indonesia, you don't bring many workers, yeah. Probably only 0.5%, yeah. But in China can be 20%. So that's threaten Indonesian workers because even blue collar workers mostly what they call imported from China. So that's create jealousy among Indonesian poor, yeah. So that's a good thing about Japan and Korea, maybe from labor technology, from manpower point of view, as well as Korean is not stingy in sharing the technology transfer. Yeah, I have my own experience establishing power plant in my city, Cirebon, West Java. Yeah, it's good. You train our engineer, and after 5 years, yeah, most Korean already not working over there anymore. So good in transfer technology. Aquaculture, I think, for developed countries, I think. Right now, aquaculture only producing animal protein from fish, crustacean, and mollusk. Actually, definition of aquaculture, like defined here by Professor Parker, is not only culturing fish, crustacean, and mollusks, but also other aquatic organisms. Yeah? So in a way, you can do many things from aquaculture. Yeah? Like Indonesia is the largest producer of salt pearl sea. Yeah? And this is the comparison between China and Indonesia. Although Indonesia is the largest marine biodiversity in the world, but up until now, we only able culture 36 species, while China already more than 100 species. So China more creative and more hardworking probably. Yeah. So this is the largest shrimp farm in the world, yeah, which is located in Lampung in Sumatra Islands, about 40,000 hectares, just like city in itself, yeah, the largest shrimp culture. In Lampung, Lampung is close to Jakarta actually only, yeah, yeah. But because of social jealousy, this modern farm right now become declining. Yeah? So many demonstrations, things like that. Yeah? That's President Jokowi right now is very serious to increase investment climate and ease of doing business, including demonstration and riot will be curbed. Yeah? This is the offshore aquaculture. Yeah? So in the US even much more advanced because US already been able to build cage net very sturdy, very robust. So even in big waves, the construction still. This is a success story of Norway about salmon aquaculture. Yeah, France also developing good thing. Yeah, marine biotechnology. I think Korea one of the leading nations in the world. Yeah, in marine biotechnology industry. Yeah, there are three what we call types of marine biotechnology industry, number 1, number 2, and number 3. This is an example of if seaweed produce a process, it can be more 100 product, yeah, from pharmaceutical industry, pangan or food, yeah, and so forth and so forth, yeah. And almost all marine organisms actually contain bioactive compound, yeah, which is raw materials for pharmaceutical product and nutrition, yeah. So as you can see, spirulina, yeah, I don't want to bore you. This is Alga Novo is the largest what they call alga company in Japan. As you can see, is you consume algae from the sea, yeah, you will be slimmer and then your skin look younger, yeah. Like me, already 61 year old, but according to my friend, I look like 31, right? Because I consume more algae. This is another example, yeah. Even in pufferfish, the what they call the liver of pufferfish contains tetrodotoxin. That's good for cancer, yeah, and then also for anesthesia crustaceans, for chitin and so forth. Yeah. Bioremediation. This is algae. Yeah. in Indonesia, in the last 5 years, we have been working very hard to produce a biofuel from microalgae rather than from palm oil, yeah, because this is more sustained, yeah. And luckily, we have been able to identify 13 species of microalgae from Indonesian seas, and 4 of them contain more than 20% of hydrocarbon. This is promising future, yeah. So this is the product of biofuel in Indonesia, but price-wise still expensive. Per liter about $1, while diesel fuel is only $0.6. So I propose to the government to give subsidy first, in order to improve our efficiency. This is from your ministry, according to Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries of Korea. Marine biotechnology industry is huge market, about 4 times the size of semiconductor. I think that's all. Okay, sorry. This is my 8 and 10 suggestion. I don't want to teach you about social and thank you so much. Kamsahamnida and come to Raja Ampat Island, Indonesia. Thank you.